Hello everyone, Token Deathmage here. We are once again checking out Pokemon Elite Redux. Elite Redux is the incredible ROM hack developed by a talented team headed by one James Lyons. They've reworked old Pokemon, giving them new types where appropriate, as well as new moves and abilities. There are new evolutions for some Pokemon, and new regional variants called Redux forms. The big draw of the hack is the innate system, where every Mon has 4 abilities.
Grass. You've probably heard of it. It's like everywhere. Even in Pokemon games, it's pretty common. You walk into it when you want to catch things. And sometimes it is the thing you catch. That's what this playthrough's about. We take our Grass-type starter, Snivy. Unleashing her on a Zigzagoon, she destroys it with Vine Whip. The professor thanks us, giving us a national Pokedex, and asking us to go find his daughter, May. We stop at the Pokemon Center getting a Dex Nav, and a whole bunch of items. Going up to the level cap, we evolve our starter into Servine right away. Heading over to the Adoption Center, we pick up the best goddamn Pokemon ever, Corm. I mean, just look at this guy. How adorable. We then grab a bunch of other leafy boys, preparing to fight May. Then getting a second early game evolution in Swadloon. She only has 2 Pokemon, so we may be over-prepared. Gem boosted Fire Blast tries to take out our Servine, but the Dragon type helps us resist. We go for a Mirror Coat, reflecting it back. Our second Pokemon, Gumi, is a Dragon type itself, going for Protect, and then getting glared the second turn. Dragon Pulse deals decent damage, and a second one takes it out, giving us an easy first battle. I have a bad feeling about the next one. So we use the Dex Snap to get a couple more friends, welcome Pineapple the Lombre onto the team, and then begin our fight with Calvin. Use Rylip Jr.'s Protect, get Rendit's ready to action. Swapping into Swadloon to set up Grassy Terrain, and buffing ourselves up with Grassy Seed. Tink uses Iron Head, flinching us, and after taking another one, we set up Creeping Thorns, the Grass-type Stealth Rock. Tink fires back with a Stealth Rock of their own, going for an Iron Head against our Ferroseed, hurting itself on our Iron Barbs and Rocky Helmet. We set up a layer of spikes, as it continues to hurt itself, eventually getting low enough for a Body Press to finish it off. Calvin then swaps into his Alolan Diglett, breaks its Focus Sash on the Creeping Thorns. We survive a critical Earthquake, and then finish it off with a Body Press. Poochyena gets the kill on Ferroseed and then gets a Moxie Boost. Then we bring in Swadloon, setting the Grassy Terrain back up, but he also goes down. We then bring in Smugleaf, who survives a knockoff by the power of love, killing the Poochyena with a Dragon Pulse. Seal comes in and takes hazard damage, then a Leaf Tornado almost finishes it, but survives, kills our starter with Ice Beam. We bring in Rylip Jr., who takes another Ice Beam, and ends the Seal with an Energy Ball. Mouse comes out, going for Pursuit, dealing a good amount of damage. We then crit a Struggle Bug, going for Protect next turn, surviving another Pursuit, and killing Mouse with an Energy Ball. Ninja comes in and dies to the hazards. Rylip Jr. makes Calvin look like a clown. On the way to the first gym, there's this double battle that has a mono grass team, and I don't usually show it, but I thought it'd be neat considering the circumstances. They set up a Tailwind, but we have Sludge Bomb, and they're part Fairy type, so we shred through the Cottony. Our speed gets lowered, and then Petalil sets up with the Sun. Paris uses Hut, getting a crit, and I swap in a Skip Bloom as they bring out Oddish. Petalil goes for Hidden Power, almost taking Skip Bloom down. Then a Sludge Bomb hits Paris. We finish off the Petalil, and they bring out Tangela, who knocks off my Skip Bloom, as Oddish goes for another Sludge Bomb, finishing Paris off. I bring Ivysaur back out, Ferroseed as well. It's hit by a Hidden Power, 1 down in 1 shot. Ivysaur goes for Weather Ball, taking the Oddish out, and I bring out Pineapple. They bring out Cherrim. I take the Cherrim out with another Weather Ball. Pineapple tanks a knockoff, then hits Tangela with an Ice Beam, and they bring out a Bounce Sweep, which goes down to another Weather Ball. Hidden Power almost takes my Ivysaur down, and then we finish off the Tangela with an Ice Beam, proving ourselves the superior Grass Trainer. We make our way to Rustboro City, the site of the first gym, and after clearing out the gym trainers, begin our battle with the first leader, Roxanne. He leads with an Onyx, and we lead with Kithkin, Skidoo, named after Magic-gathering, goat-riding hobbits of Corwin. We begin bulking up in the Onyx's face, tanking its jagged fangs, going down to our Citrus Berry, bulking up again, and then milk drinking to go back to almost full health. We Vine Whip, taking the Onyx down to 1, and then a second one finishes it off. Roxanne brings out Bombardier, and we tank it to a Wing Beat, going for Vine Whip, taking it down to half. It goes for Rock Slide, and gets the Flinch unfortunately, then finishes Kithkin off next turn. I send out Ivysaur, hoping it'll go for a Wing Beat, and then swap into Juggernaut. Goes for Fling though, and then Rock Slide. After taking another Rock Slide, I go for Body Press, almost taking it down. But another Rock Slide finishes my Ferroseed off, so I go into Cottony, and the Fairy Wind finally gets the kill. Brings out her Knackle stack, and I go Leech Seed on it. Heavy Slam doesn't do nearly as much as I thought it was going to do, and we set up our Creeping Thorns. Another Heavy Slam almost takes us down, And we go for Draining Kiss. Doesn't do much, but it's something. Final Heavy Slam takes our Cottony down, and we go into Smug Leaf, unleashing a Solar Beam, destroying the Knuckle Stack. Roxanne brings out Magcargo, and we decide to paralyze it with Glare. Magcargo uses Burn Up, taking Smug Leaf out, getting rid of its fire type. Pineapple to come in, and Energy Ball it right in the face. She sends out Tortuga, 4 times Grass Weak, and that thing gets obliterated. Roxanne then brings out Witchcash, and the Creeping Thorns tear a huge hole in it before it even gets to do anything. It almost takes me out with a Zen Headbutt flinch, and then finishes me off with Magnitude, so I swap and take it out with a Solar Beam, getting us our first gym badge. It then gets us an Amura, and we're on our way. As is customary in the Pokemon universe, now that we have our first badge, we're allowed to fight crime, so an old man sees us head into a cave and beat up an Aqua Grunt to get his bird back. The Aqua Grunt leads with a Dracloak, and we lead with Q-Tip, newly evolved, with the body. Dracloak goes for Shadow Claw, doing a good bit of damage, and getting a bleed on us, but activating Cotton down and slowing its speed, allowing us to take it out. Kingler comes in, and a Water Gem boosted Aqua Jet takes us down. He also gets slowed, and we swap in Indica, who survives a critical guillotine, also gets bled. We launch a Solar Beam, taking the Kingler down in one shot. The Aqua Grunt then brings out a Carvana, which goes for Crunch, taking their Ivysaur out. We bring out Kithkin, who gets crunched as well, increasing her defense with Stamina. The Carvana takes some Life Orb damage, and then we finish it off with Takedown, but we're damaged by its rough skin. Clodsire then comes out and takes a Drill Run. Doesn't do as much as I thought it was going to do though, and it sets up Toxic Spike, then takes Kithkin out with a Sludge. We bring in Ralph Jr., newly evolved with a glorious mustache. He hits the Clodsire with an Earth Power, decreasing its special defense. The second Earth Power almost takes it out. We heals up a little bit and then finish it off. Masquerain comes out and almost takes Ralph Jr. out, but he is a tenacious one and heals up with a Citrus Berry, going for Air Slash, and then surviving a Bug Buzz on 4 to launch a second one and finish the Masquerain. The poison finally takes us out. We bring out Smug Leaf. The Aqua Grunt brings out Muck. We go for Glare to paralyze it. It then misses a Gunk Shot and gets knocked off, but the Sticky Hold makes it so that it can't drop its item. Second Gunk Shot brings Smug Leaf to the ground, so we swap into Pineapple, who goes for a Hydro Pump and takes the Muck down, finishing the Aqua Grunt off and allowing us to get the old man's bird back. On our way back to catch a ride on the boat, we run into May, who wants to fight us once again, and this time she brought a full team of 6, leading with the Swellow, as we go Ralph Jr. He tanks a Hurricane, healing up with a Citrus Berry, then slapping back with a super effective Hidden Power. We stall a turn out with Protect, heal up a little bit with Self-Sufficient, and then swap into Q-Tip, setting up the Tailwind with Air Blower, hitting a Hurricane and going down to our Focus Sash. Finish the Swellow off with Priority. May brings out Combustion, so we take Flight out, sensing the Fire type attack coming, going into our Dragon. We go for Glare to mitigate the speed boost ability, surviving a second Blaze Kick. The burn is futile because we have Shed Skin. I swap back out in a Q-Tip to get the Tailwind going again, as the Combustion gets full parried. I then take Flight out, going into Pineapple, who comes in on a Fresh Claw. We finish the Combustion off with Giga Drain, then May brings out her Redux Garottle, so I bring in Q-Tip to sacrifice it. Slowing it down with Cotton down, and going back into Pineapple, going for a super effective Ice Beam. It's not enough to bring the turtle down though, and we get destroyed by a Headbutt. Going into Indica, and sleeping it, then unleashing a barrage of poison moves, finally taking it down. May brings out Starmie and goes for Psychic, and we go for Solar Beam, thinking it'll be enough to take it out, but it survives on the Focus Sash. It goes for Ice Beam, and we hang on at 5, firing off a second Solar Beam, getting the kill on Starmie. Then Sliggoo comes out, and we miss our attack, getting taken out by a Sludge Bomb. So I swap back into Smug Leaf and go for Dragon Fangs, and the Gooey raises my speed because I have Contrary. May then brings out Golett, and I go for a Leaf Blade, but it survives, and takes Smug Leaf down with a Stomping Tantrum. So I swap into Kithkin, who gets Shadow Punched, and then takes it out with a Vine Whip. And he's still not that great, even with 4 more Pokemon, but at least she gave us a ride to the old guy's house, where we can sail on towards our next gym battle against Brawly. But first, we gotta stop in this cave to fight Stephen Stone, who kicks things off with a grass type of his own, Cradilly, as we lead Breloom, going for a power-up punch, as he sets up Stealth Rocks. We then go for a Trailblaze, raising our speed, as Cradilly goes for a Power Gem, not doing much to us, and we just heal it back up with Poison Eel. We hit another power-up punch, raising our attack once again, going back to full health, as Steve brings out Aerodactyl, who gets destroyed by a Mach Punch. Genesect comes in, and despite being a legendary, it too falls to Mach Punch from Breloom. Metagross comes out, and the Psychic type scares me out of my fighting guy, so I go into Juggernaut. Metagross goes for Ice Punch, and the Iron Barbs and Rocky Helmet do their job. I hit a Body Press to do a little bit of extra damage, as he finishes Juggernaut off with Hammer Arm. Finally succumbing himself to the pain. Psychic type out of the way, we can go into Garlic, setting up grassy terrain and getting a defense boost. Steve's Relicanth doesn't care about our boost though, because it gets a crit. Surviving Energy Ball with Sturdy, taking Garlic out with Waterfall. We swap back into Boop, and finish it with Mach Punch. Steve's final wall is Larion, we start the power-up punch again, raising our attack, making a Stone Edge no problem, healing it back up, for a punching again, and sending Steve into oblivion. Distractions out of the way, we head on over to the second gym to take on the fraudulent fighter, Brawly. Like, bro, that's a ghost type, not a fighting type. What are you doing? We kick things off with Juggernaut, taking a critical Spirit Shackle, then going for a Hard Press. And for those who don't know, Hard Press is a Steel-type move, which negates the opponent's ability. Brawly then switches out into Electivire as we go for Spike, taking us down with a close combat, but injuring himself on our spiky surface. I then bring in Lilligant and go for a Draining Kiss, finishing the Electivire off easily. Hitmonchan comes in then, and another Draining Kiss takes it out after spike damage as well. Brawly then brings out his Redux Bisharp, and we swap out into Q-Tip, hitting up the Air Blower. He misses an Excalibur, and we go for Fairy Wind. He hits the second one, and we go down to our Focus Sash, slowing his speed, but activating his Defiant. We then both miss, and I go for another Fairy Wind, while he finishes me off with an Excalibur. He's slowed down once again, and buffed up into Oblivion, but it doesn't matter, because a Draining Kiss takes him down. Then comes my absolute least favorite of Brawly's Pokemon, the Hatterene, which sets up Trick Room. Swap in an Indica when it goes for Tri-Attack, not taking a lot of damage, but getting paralyzed. Then goes for Psychic, takes us out with a super effective critical hit. So I bring out Rowlet Jr., and go for a Hidden Power, then goes for Mystical Fire, lowering our special attack by 2 stages, but activating our Citrus Berry, and allowing another Hidden Power to take it out. The Noivern comes back in, we go for Protect while it Spirit Shackles, but a second one breaks through, bringing us back into Berry range, we go for Calm Mind. I protect out another turn, with the crit triggering my berry, and then launch off a Hidden Power, harvesting the berry once again, showing the incredible resilience of Cormoth. Hidden Power crit then takes the Noivern down, and we harvest our berry back once again. Dual Lumber comes out, and we launch off another Hidden Power, before taking a Jagged Punch. We berry back up, and Hidden Power again, but this time it goes for Drain Punch, and is actually able to take Rowlet Jr. out. We swap back into Lilligant, and hit a Draining Kiss, taking the Dual Lumber down, and getting us our second gym bet. Making our way across the ocean, we find ourselves at Slayport City, where we have to take on the Team Aqua Gauntlet battle, but at least we have some more fully evolved plants to play with. The first grunt leads with a Gloom, who sets grassy terrain for us, and we go Q-Tip to set up the Tailwind. We take Flight out, going into Indica, as they swap out into Low-Kicks. A Weather Ball takes their Low-Kicks down to Sash. We then swap into Brandy Bramblegast, finishing it off with a Shadow Sneak. Gloom comes back out, so we swap back into Indica, and a couple of Weather Balls finish the Gloom off as well, allowing us to move on to the second trainer, who leads with a Poliwrath. We take Flight out, going into Smugleaf, setting up a Leech Seed, and then paralyzing it with Glare. Gets full parried, so we hit it with a Dragon Rage, heal up with a Synthesis next turn. Swap out into Brandy since it keeps Drain Punching, going for a Horn Leech, doing significant damage, allowing the Leech Seed to finish it off at the end of turn. Wallach comes out, so we swap into our specially defensive powerhouse that is Indica, tanking all of its Ice Beams no problem with our Assault Vest, and ending it with a couple of Earth Powers. Their leader Archie then comes in, leading with a Crobat, so we take Flight out into Juggernaut, and we set up Spikes as it whisks itself away on our Rocky Helmet and Iron Barbs combo. A Redux Gabite comes in, taking a ton of damage from our combo as well, for being hit with a Hard Press. Sharpedo comes in, and it finally takes Jug down, so I send out Q-Tip, who ends the Sharpedo with a Giga Drain. Archie then brings out Electros, so I swap into RJ, who has no problem tanking a Sludge Wave. We set up Calm Mind, and then obliterate the Electros with boosted Giga Drain. Galmize comes out, and we chunk it with an Earth Power, tanking an Anchor Shot and healing up with our Berry. We go back and forth, him healing with Pain Split, but eventually a critical Anchor Shot is enough to take RJ down. So we bring Q-Tip back out and hit a Hidden Power, takes her out with a couple of Anchor Shots, healing up with Soul Eater, but her job was done and the Tailwind set, boosting Brandy's attack and allowing us to defuse Shadow Sneaks and take it out. Archie then brings out his Hisuian Sliggoo, who fires off no recoil Steel Beams, taking out Brandy. But we swap back into Indica, hitting a few Earth Powers, who tank its Steel Beams as best we can with our Assault Vest, whittling it away, eventually succumbing. Going into Smugleaf, stopping the Slug, and Archie with Dragon Rage. On the way up to Mauville City, we run into May once again. She starts the battle off with her Swellow, so we absorb her Hurricane with Wind Rider, increasing our attack. Hit a Fake Out, and then a Quick Attack, bringing it down to 1 before it uses a Boom Burst, taking our Shiftry down. It dies to its burn, and then we bring out Pineapple, as she brings out her Redux Torterra, who gets hit by an Ice Beam. It brings Pineapple down with a Zephyr Rush, so we swap into Garlic, setting up the grassy terrain, surviving another Zephyr Rush and hitting a Sludge Bomb. May then brings out her Golurk, and it kills Garlic with a Rage Fist. So I go into Kithkin and start bulking up. The Golurk hits another Rage Fist, but Kithkin is much stronger, and we go for another bulk up. Third Rage Fist brings us down to the yellow, and we Milk Drink to get our health back up, bulking up once again, then Milk Drinking away all the damage. Eventually our attack gets so high that we go for a Horn Leech, and almost take the Golurk out in one shot. Out of Rage Fists, it goes for a 1-inch punch, and then we finish it off with a second Horn Leech. May then brings out Blaziken, goes for a Blaze Kick, but our defense is ridiculous at this point, and we hit a Drill Run, easily dealing with the Fire type. Starmie then comes out and hits an Ice Beam, doing special damage, getting past our bulk ups, as we go for a Horn Lead, taking it down to its Focus Ash. A second Ice Beam finishes Kithkin off, so we bring out Parasect, taking Starmie down with Shadow Claw, as May brings out her Goodra, goes for a Dragon Pulse. I miss a Sleep Powder, then go for a Shadow Claw, getting a big damage and sending Parasitic Spores. Parasect's ability, which deals damage over time. Go for a Leech Life to get a bit of health back. Goodra does a Bravado and almost takes me down. But we live through it and finish it off with a Shadow Claw, showing May that we are superior. We finally make it to Mauville City, but first we've got to deal with a battle with Wally, who leads with his Obstagoon as we go Q-Tip, switching out with Take Flight, going into Brandy to avoid its Facade. We then switch back out again, going into Q-Tip, get around its Sucker Punch this time, bringing it down with a Moonblast. Armor Rouge comes out next, and we take Light out, bringing Pineapple in, using his Water type to take the Fire attack, and hitting a Hydro Pump. Wally then brings out his King Gambit Redux, so we go into Juggernaut. And Aerial Ace does more damage to him than it does to us. Then goes for Cross Chop, hitting twice, taking us down, but bringing himself to the red in the process. Swap back into Pineapple and use a priority Water Gun to take him out. Wally brings out his Garchomp, so we go into Q-Tip, hitting the Tailwind up with Air Blower, and being immune to his Dragon attack. We then hit a Moonblast, almost taking it down, as he goes for a Diamond Blade, lowering his own speed twice. He then swaps out into his Gardevoir, who handles our Moonblast pretty well, takes us out with Mystical Fire. So we go into Brandy, and Wind Rider buffed Phantom Force takes the Gardevoir down. Roserade then comes out, and Phantom Force finishes it as well, clearing Wally out of the way, allowing us to enter the gym. Despite being past his prime, Old Man Watson leads hard with a Tapu Koko, lead with Q-Tip, and then swap out into Brandy, using the Tailwind to get our Wind Rider buff, and then getting a second buff from Hurricane. Tapu Koko almost takes us out with a Moonblast, but our Shadow Sneak, empowered by all the buffs, takes it down. Watson then goes into his Rapidash, and Mega Evolves it. We get paralyzed by a high horsepower, taking it down to red, and then dying to another one, bringing out Boot to finish it off with a Mach Punch. Watson then brings out his Alolan Raichu, so we swap into Rowlet Jr., eating the Focus Blast, switching the terrain over from electric to grassy. A Psyshock activates our Citrus Berry, and we start setting up Calm Mind. We then go for a Giga Drain, doing a massive chunk, eating almost all of our health back. Clodifiscer comes out, so we swap into Indica as it fires off a Searing Shot, barely doing anything to us. We tank a second one, and then go for a Sludge Bomb, getting a crit and almost taking this thing down, but its Ice Beam gets the better of us. So we bring Boop out again, and once again clean up with Mach Punch. The Alolan Raichu comes back out, so we go Rowlet Jr. again, repeating the same strategy as before. We Calm our mind, protect back to full health, and then finish the Raichu off with a Giga Drain. Iron Hands comes out, so we swap back into Q-Tip, surviving a Drain Punch, and then a Bullet Punch, hitting it with Moonblast, before we get paralyzed by its static ability. Another Moonblast takes it down into the yellow, and a fourth finally finishes it off. Watson's final Pokemon is the Ghost-type Explode Redux, takes Boop down with the Synchronoise. We go back into Q-Tip, who gets full Parad. So we bring out Lily, and chunk this thing with an Earth Power, surviving its Synchronoise, and hitting a second one, before being taken out. Bringing in Rowlet Jr., who sets up Grassy Terrain and Calm Mind, using an Earth Power to finish off Watson and the Explode, allowing us to walk out with our third gym badge. Before we can proceed to our next gym battle, we've got to stop and help Miss May with a little magma problem, which is a bit sad if you think about it because we took on the Aqua guys with their leader present and she can't handle a couple grunts, but I digress. We lead with Lily, take out their Jerem with a weather ball, as the Ninetales goes for a nasty plot. Blaziken tries to blaze kick it, but its flash fire ability absorbs it, and they send out a Sagaractus, which also gets killed by weather ball. Ninetales fires off a gem boosted heat wave, taking down both our Pokemon, and then swap into Q-Tip, setting up Tailwind with Air Blower, and May sends out her Starmie. Magma Guy's bringing an Arcanine, which Q-Tip hits with Hurricane, not doing much damage. Starmie goes for a Hydro Pump into the Ninetales, Arcanine then retaliates with Heat Wave, taking Q-Tip down and healing up the damage that I dealt with Predator, but getting slowed in the process by Cotton Down. I bring in Brandy, who gets an attack boost from a Tailwind, and then takes out their Houndoom with an Astonish. Starmie hits the Arcanine with a Psyshock, and it tries to Heat Wave, but I absorb it with Wind Rider, getting another attack boost. They bring out their Lilligant, which finishes Starmie off with a Rolling Kick, and is then taken out by an Air Cutter from Brandy. Air Cutter almost finishes the Arcanine off as well, and it didn't learn its lesson because it goes for another Heat Wave, so we finish it off with a Shadow Sneak. Grunts out of the way, we're able to fight their leader Maxie now atop the volcano. He leads with an Agonadel, which sets up Sticky Webs and goes for a Sludge Wave. Pineapple hits back with an Ice Beam, taking it down in one shot. Maxie then sends out his Crobat, so we swap in a Juggernaut, who gets halved by a Super Fang, then does his Iron Barb thing. We go for a Hard Press, bringing it down into the red, then Maxie hard swaps into his Camerupt, so we set up some more spikes as it Mega Evolves, and then swap back into Pineapple, sacrificing him to his Oil Drain, so that we can swap back into Lily and nuke the Camerupt with Earth Power. Hydreigon then comes out, swap Q-Tip, setting up a Tailwind, but getting burned away by a Fire Blast. So we send Lily back out, who hits a Draining Kiss. The very injured Crobat then comes back out, but we send his worst Nightmare out again, allowing it to finish itself off, then setting our third layer of spikes. The Lycanroc comes out, but we swap into Garlic, tanking its attack, and then hitting back with a Giga Drain. Maxie then brings out his Venusaur, which takes a bit of damage from spikes, and then Mega Evolves. We swap in a Juggernaut, who takes an Earthquake, and then Hard Press to negate its ability, before being finished off by a second Earthquake. We then swap into Lily, hitting an Earth Power, but it's not enough to take this thing down, and she gets Poison Jabbed. Brandy comes in next, going for Astonish, finishing it off with an Air Cutter, ending Maxie and his second Mega Pokemon. Things are only gonna heat up for us even more because we're up against the fiery Flannery, who leads with a Walking Wake, setting up the sun, and going for a Hydro Steam into our Redux Escargonite. We go for a Stealth Rocks, tanking another blast, and healing up with our Citrus Berry, because in the sun, our snail named after the Celestinian Temple Gardens of Magic the Gathering's Plain of Ravnica is functionally immortal. Another Hydro Steam takes us down to 11, and we chip the Walking Wake with a Giga Drain. Harvesting our berry back once again. I stall a turn out with Protect, getting a second Harvest trigger, letting us take another Hydro Steam, and hit another Giga Drain. Flannery then swaps out in a Ceruledge, seeing right through my strategy, but it misses its attack and gets hit by a Pebble Shower. It then manages to hit an Excalibur, but the first hit activates my berry, and I take it out with a second Pebble Shower. After the sunlight fades, Flannery brings in her Charizard, Mega Evolving it to set the sun back up already. I go for Protect so that I can harvest my berry, but a Flamethrower manages to finally take me down. I go into Pineapple, who takes an Air Slash going down to his Focus Sash, and then sets up a Rain Dance to get rid of the sun. Another Flamethrower takes him down. We bring out Smugleaf, who gets hit by an Air Slash, but survives, and counters with a Strength, taking the Charizard to the red. Afraid of another Air Slash, we swap into Electrode, finish the Charizard off with a Thunderbolt. Flannery then swaps into her Entei, and we go for Thunderbolt since we're Choice Locked, going down to Sacred Fire. Swap into Lily, and hit an Earth Power, taking the Entei out, as she circles back around into her Walking Wake. I swap back out into Smugleaf, sacrificing it to a Dragon Pulse, so that I can bring Lily back in and an Energy Ball, boosted by the grassy terrain. Redux Arcanine comes out, so I swap into Indica to take the fire damage, but it goes for a Grass-type attack at first. Flare Blitz goes right through my defense, but it's hit with massive recoil, so I swap back into Lily and finish it off with an Earth Power. The final mon is a Mega Wigglytuff Y, which an Earth Power easily handles as well. And honestly, fire wasn't too bad. One thing on my mind, I dip past the trainers, running up to Dad to get my sweet Mega Bracelet. With our Mega Bracelet unlocked, these are just a few of the neat toys that we have to play with. Mega Superior's got Supreme Overlord. Holy shit, it's Gandalf! A physical attacking Venusaur. And this thing's got 700 BST. And with all these cool new toys, Dad does not stand a chance. He leads with a Kangaskhan, and we lead with our Parasect. Kangaskhan goes for a Fake Out, getting hit by our Parasitic Spores in the process. It then goes for a Comet Punch. We fire back with a Leech Seed, and it takes all kinds of periodic damage. It tries to boost up with a Power Up Punch, which with the Parental Bond is actually pretty scary, but at this point its life is ticking away. And with it below half health, we get an Opportunist Leech Life and take it down. Norman's Persian comes out next, going for a knockoff, and also getting coated in Parasitic Spores. We go for a different kind of Spore, putting it to sleep, and then seed it up. It tries in vain to take us down with super effective knockoffs, but we employ the same strategy, getting a critical hit with our Leech Life. Norman's Bayonet comes out next. It goes Normal type in this game, Mega Evolving and hitting a Spectral Thief, doing massive damage to Parasect before being put to sleep and seeded. We swap out into Ifrit as the Bayonet wakes up and hits another Spectral Thief and gets hit by a beatdown in the process, being burned by our Flame Body. King's Cloud comes out, finishing off our Arcanine. We bring out Boop, who uses its Focus Sash to endure a Boom Burst and Power Up Punch. We finish it off with a Mach Punch. And Ursaluna comes out, Mega Evolving, and we go for a priority Mach Punch, but it doesn't do much. The Ursaluna hits a Play Rough off our 1 HP, so we swap into our Venusaur and hit a Vine Whip, lowering its defense with our ability. Attack sharply races, but thankfully we flinch it, and we're able to finish it with another Vine Whip, so Norman sends out his Bewarden, going for a Dynamic Punch and subbing out. We hit a Gunk Shot to take care of the substitute, as the Bewarden goes for a Dizzy Punch, getting caught by a second Gunk Shot, going down in one hit, despite its fluffiest ability, and we got to take Norman down without using most of our team. Next we head on over to a secret area at Petalburg Woods to take on a Totem Breloom, get ourselves the Mega Stone for Boop. We lead with Bugleaf, as the Dora flares to life and Mega Evolves itself, going for a Brick Break, doing a lot of damage. We hit a Draco Meteor on it, doesn't do anything, swapping out or Flying type. Our little Dandelion's caught down slows it down, and we hit it 4 times effective Air Slash. It somehow manages to still survive that, going for a Rock Tomb, taking out our Jumpluff, but being slowed once more. So I bring in Ifrit, getting an extreme speed to finish it off, earning the Breloomite, giving us access to one of the craziest Mega Pokemon in the game. Personally, I like this set. Heading east from Mauville, we once again find ourselves running into Steven Stone, but we're in a much better position than we were last time. We go for an Astonish against this Gleavor, and then Poltergeist, attacking it with his own weakness policy, taking it out before it has a chance to do anything. Steve then brings his Magearna in, so we swap in Indica, easily tanking a Swift, and then a Steel Beam, doing more damage to itself than it did to us. We counter with an Earthquake, killing his Legendary no problem. He brings his Metagross out, going for a Zen Headbutt, taking our Poison type out with its Psychic. So we swap back into Brandy, going for an Astonish, hitting it with its own Life Orb. Steve then swaps into his Iron Valiant, which has a really annoying ability that sets up Protect, so I take care of that ability with Shadow Sneak, getting hit by a Floor Cannon, and losing my Bramblecast in the process. I swap into Lily, who also takes a Floor Cannon, managing to survive, but missing a Pixie Beam, taken out by a second one. So I go into Kurt, press the Nuclear option, obliterating it with the Grassy Terrain boosted Chloroblast. Rikavish comes out, and similarly tastes our artillery. He then swaps into his Aggron, Mega Evolving it into an incredibly bulky boy, but even it has trouble handling a Chloroblast. After taking a bunch of damage, it takes Kurt down, so we swap into Ifrit, going for a Fire Fang, doing barely any damage, being taken out by a Head Smash. So I go into Pineapple, and hit a Hydro Pump, finally taking it down, and send in Steve packing, so we can be on our way. We make a quick pit stop at the weather station to fight Team Aqua and their admin Shelly, who tries to flex on us with a Suicune, but we don't care because we got Kurt. He hits that Chloro button, blasting a hole through Suicune. Absol comes out next and Mega Evolves. We swap out into our Poison type, anticipating a Fairy attack, but get hit by Kowtow Cleave instead. Second one takes our big guy out, so we swap in a Boop, unleashing a Bullet Seed Barrage, finishing the Absol with a crit. Basculegion comes out next, and a Sheer Cold ends my beautiful Breloom, so I send Kurt out to avenge Boop with a Chloroblast. Lily then brings out her Kyosy. We hit another Chloroblast, getting a crit. The monstrously powerful Mega Infernape Redux comes out, but it too falls victim to our Chloroblast. Shelly then sends out her Meowscarada. We swap in a Fidogazi to tank a knockoff, losing our Citrus Berry, and then taking a triple Axle. We manage to damage it with Pebble Shower, but a Flower Trip finishes the snail off. I swap in a Smugleaf, who just proceeds to get wrecked by a triple Axle. I don't know why you even thought that was a good idea. I then bring out Pineapple, who tanks a knockoff, and ends the now Dark-type Meowscarada with a Giga Drain. sending Shelly and her Team Aqua Goons packing. Just outside the Weather Institute, we run into Miss May once again, who's looking to get beat in another battle. She leads with her Swellow against our Ludicolo, who oh so appreciates the rain. Going for a Quiver Dance, buffing up our special stats, allowing us to live Swellow's Hurricane and counter with an Ice Beam. Taking the bird down. Torterra Redux comes in next. Originally a fairy type, it Mega Evolves, becoming electric. As I go for a Hydro Pump, doing a bunch of damage to it, being taken out by a Wild Charge. I swap into RJ, who survives a Zephyr Rush, switching the terrain from electric to grassy, healing up with his berry. I then go for a Quiver Dance, and protect next turn, to heal up a little bit. Bringing the Torterra down to the red with a Giga Drain, but it survives and takes us out with a Zephyr Rush. So I go in a Smugleaf, hitting a Draco Meteor, as May brings out her Starmie. Swap into Indica, seeing the Ice-type attack coming, handling a Psychic thanks to our Assault Vest, taking it down to its Sash with a Vine Whip. We heal up with our ability Energy Siphon, surviving another Ice Beam, and then taking it out with a second Vine Whip. May then sends out her Blaziken, proceeding to Mega Evolve it. It Blaze kicks Venusaur, taking it down. I send out Marluxia the Lurantis to get an Intimidate off. Goes down to a Blaze Kick, so I send out Smugleaf, who handles the Blaze Kick thanks to the Intimidate and the Dragon typing, countering with a Draco Meteor. A second Blaze Kick almost takes us out, burning us, but we finish the Blaziken off and shed the burn away. Goodra comes out next. We lob another Draco Meteor. Thanks to our boosted special attack, we're taken down in one shot. It then brings out our Golurk, which is normally pretty tanky. We are already buffed up, and a Leaf Storm takes it down, marking the final time that we'll battle against May. May out of the way, we're able to move on to our next gym leader, Winona, widely regarded as the easiest. She leads with a Velozel and a Fearow. We lead with Juggernaut and Vidagozi, setting up a spiky shield as the Velozel goes for a fake out into our Fearow falls for our trap and gets a bleed. Our Skargonite then takes an Ice Spinner, and the Fearow goes for a Drill Run into Juggernaut, doing a lot of damage to the Fearow. We set up some Stealth Rocks, and then hard press into the Velozel, doing a little bit of chip damage. I stall another turn out with Spiky Shield, but the Velozel goes for my Snail instead. We then hit a Pebble Shower, taking out the Velozel and the Sphero with the spread. Tornadus and Moltres comes out, Moltres being destroyed by the Stealth Rocks. Tornadus goes for a Taunt, and the Moltres hits a Heat Bait, taking both of my Pokemon down. So I swap in a Pineapple and Kurt. Kurt hits a Thunderbolt on the Tornadus, while Pineapple starts Quiver Dancing. The Moltres goes for an Aeroblast, which critical hits our Ludicolo, but we've got a Focus Sash. Winona then brings out her Aerodactyl, Mega Evolving it. Kurt Thunderbolts into the Moltres, finishing it off, but he is then taken out by a Head Smash from the Mega Aero. Ludicolo hits an Ice Beam on it, taking it down. Winona then sends out her Zapdos, and we send out Brandy, hitting it with an Astonish, and then finishing it off with an Ice Beam. Even with type advantage, Winona could not handle us. That is pretty sad. After bullying Winona, we make our way at Mount Pyre, but we're stopped by the crew rep on the way up. And this guy is no joke. Immediately going for a knockoff, getting rid of our Citrus Berry, hitting a Frostbite on Vidagozi. We manage to set up a stealth, get absolutely wrecked by a triple axle. So we go into Q-Tip to set up Tailwind, but this madman has priority and still outspeeds us. Thankfully our Cotton Down slows him down a bit. Take Flight out, going into Ifrit. Now that he's slowed, I'm able to land a Fire Fangs, taking the menace of a Weavile down. Oricorio comes out next, getting chipped by the Stealth Rocks and then Mega Evolving. We hit a Fire Fangs on it, taking it down though. Charizard comes out, likewise Mega Evolving, into Mega Charizard X. He takes a bunch of damage from a beatdown, and then starts to Dragon Dance. But I'm not having that, so I use my Supreme Speed, but I don't have to worry about him setting up. Chandelure comes out, and after taking Stealth Rock damage, likewise falls victim to a beatdown, showing exactly why I put Dark-type coverage on Ifrit. Hariyama then comes out, but we withdraw back into Q-Tip. He gets 1-inch punched, but survives. We go for a Moonblast, dealing a big chunk of this thing's health, then get taken out by an Aura Force. But we go into Kurt, and not wanting to deal with this, just self-destruct on him. And then bring out Brandy, catches the current with Wind Rider, raising her attack, as a Mawile comes out. Mawile Mega Evolves, and gets chunked by an Astonish, and attacked by its own Mega Stone, but it manages to hang on, taking us down with a Snap Trap. So I bring Ifrit back out and finish it off with a Fire Fang, allowing us to make our way up the rest of the mountain. After finishing our little hike and taking out the few grunts, we're able to take on their leader, App and Matt. He leads with a Volcanion, setting up the rain with Drizzle, and then falling prey to a critical Thunderbolt for Kurt. Teleon comes out, Mega Evolving, then being hit by a Thunderbolt as well, proving that no matter how cool you look, it doesn't mean you're strong. Matt then brings out his scissor. We go for a Thunderbolt, not managing to kill this time, getting taken out by a double hit, triggering our Aftermath ability to game down to 1, and then he falls to his own life orb. I send out Vidugazi, and they bring out Crab Bruiser, who lands a massive hammer arm. We heal up with our Citrus Berry, but it's not enough, and the second hit takes us down. Not enough, and the second hit takes us down. So I go into Juggernaut, using a spiky shield, get a bleed. We go for a hard press next turn to do a little bit of chip, and they predictably hit a hammer arm, taking out Juggernaut, but also taking a bunch of damage itself from our spiky surface. I then bring out Pineapple, who lands a Grass Pledge, finishing the Crab Bruiser off, as Kilowattrel comes out. Go for a Hydro Pump. The Kilowattrel has a Focus Sash, popping off a big electric shot, taking us down to our Sash, then being taken out by an Ice Beam. Matt then brings out a Weavile, hitting an Ice Shard, and I swap into Siegfried, the Mega Meowscarada, doing massive damage with a Fake Out, swapping into Indica, and taking the Weavile out with a Vine Whip. Team Aqua clears out, we talk to their boss, and obtain the Magma Emblem, which we use to gain access to the Magma Hideout underneath the volcano where we last battled Maxie. Speaking of Maxie, we found him, using the red orb to awaken Groudon. He leads with a Gonadel again. We lead with Siegfried, going for a Fake Out, and bringing it down with a Triple Axle. Maxie brings out his Camera Up, which we know is going to Mega Evolve, swap out into Brandy. Camera Up goes for Searing Shot, bringing us down to our Focus Sash, and I hit a Rapid Spin, blowing away the sticky webs. We then send in RJ, proceeding to Quiver Dance, taking a Searing Shot, then setting up the Grassy Terrain, healing up with our Berry, going for a second Quiver Dance, and harvesting the Berry back once again. We launch an Earth Power, barely not taking the Camera Up down, surviving another Searing Shot, healing up with our Berry, and then finish the Camera Up off. Groudon comes out, reverting to its primal form, making the sun even harsher than it was, and almost getting taken out in one shot by Machagacha. He V-creates into our Gormoth, who sadly goes down. He had a great run, and Siegfried's able to finish the Groudon off with a Fake Out. Great Tusk comes in, so we hit a Flower Trick, with a bunch of damage, taking it out with the crit. Maxie then brings out his Venusaur, who can Mega Evolve to the Y version this time, and its ample bulk allows it to survive our Triple Axle, hitting a Sludge Bomb, but not taking Siegfried out, being finished off by a Sucker Punch. Final Pokemon is Walking Wake. I go for a Sucker Punch, doing a bit of damage, but it retaliates with Hydro Steam, finishing our Meowscarada, so I bring out Lily. It outspeeds and hits a Boiling Flame though, so I'm forced to use Smug Leaf, surviving a Dragon Pulse, countering with Draco Meteor, which is thankfully enough to finish the Wake off, stopping Maxie's evil plans. We head over to Sleeport, where Team Aqua's up to no good, and they start making trouble in the submarine neighborhood. So we track them to their base off the coast of Lily Cove City, and after navigating through the grunts, we find their admin Matt once again. He leads with his Volcanion, and we lead Q-Tip this time, setting up the air blower, going for a Hurricane into the Volcanion, doing a little bit of damage, before being hit with a Boiling Flame, which takes us down, but slows the Volcanion in the process. I bring out Kurt, who activates Grassy Surge, and then launches a Chloroblast at the Volcanion, which after the chip we did with Hurricane is enough to finish it. Sneasler comes out, we Chloroplast again since we're a Choice Lock, but it survives, going for a close combat and Kurt down, and activating Aftermath, also taking out the Sneasler. Bring out Pineapple, and Matt brings out a Barraskewda, goes for a Zephyr Rush, taking us down to our Sash. Pineapple then goes for a Grass Pledge, hitting a crit, destroying the Barraskewda. As Kilowattrel comes on out and gets hit with a Hydro Pump, going down to its Sash again, launching an Electro Shot at Pineapple, who sadly isn't able to survive. So I go into Smug Leaf, hit a Wormwind to take it out. Crab Bruiser comes out next, we launch a Leaf Storm at it, but it survives and goes for a Hammer Arm, making us bleed on its Spike Armor. Second Leaf Storm is enough to take the Crab Bruiser down. With a +4 to our special attack, Blastoise has a lot to worry about. Fire off another Leaf Storm, doing absurd damage, destroying the Blastoise, and finishing Matt off. But he reveals he was just stalling so that Archie can get away. I'd like to thank Ashin the Guy and Ryan for this Tate and Liza team, because each of the Pokemon they recommended worked together beautifully. The twins set up their Trick Room and their Psychic Terrain as we go for Protect with our Arboliva, or their Tapu with our Shiinotic. Its ability Bad Dreams deals some damage. Our Nucleus goes for Hidden Power into our Arboliva, which switches the battlefield over to Grassy Terrain as we go for a Dream Meter into the Lele. It barely survives, and we Gate Drain their Nucleus. Then Bad Dream takes it out at the end of turn. Their Calyrex comes out. I Protect with Arboliva, and then tank an Aura Sphere with Shiinotic. I Spore the Calyrex, putting it to sleep, and it takes some damage from Bad Dreams. I take another Aura Sphere, then go for a Dream Eater, nearly taking the Calyrex out, and healing back all the damage they did. I go for a Rototiller with Arboliva, basically getting Nasty Plot on both my guys, Then the Calirexes finish off by Bad Dreams. Slowbro comes out, and then Mega evolves. We protect with Arboliva, then put the Slowbro asleep with Spore. It takes some Bad Dreams damage, and then Gloria takes a hidden power from the Renucleus, healing back most of it with her berry. We go for a Dream Eater into the Slowbro, taking it down to the red, then attempt to finish it off with a Giga Drain, but it's still not enough, so we just let the Bad Dreams do it. Slowking comes out next, also Mega evolving like its cousin, setting the battlefield back to Psychic, and going for a Calm Mind. Another hidden power hits our Arboliva, switching the battlefield back to Grassy, and healing her up with her Citrus Berry, as we go for a Spore into the Slowking. We pop off another Rototiller, and let Bad Dreams take the Slowking down. Trip tanks an Aura Sphere, then goes for Dream Eater into the Slowking, but even at +4 is still not a lot. Next turn we go for Protect on both of our Pokemon, allowing the Bad Dreams to finish off the Slowking, and Tate and Liza bring out Oranguru. Trip takes another Aura Sphere, which is a crit, and doesn't even do half, going for Giga Drain into the Nucleus with Trip, and into the Oranguru Gloria. Down to just Renucleus, I begin spamming Giga Drains, until eventually, the combined might of both of my plants is enough to bring it down, handling what is arguably the hardest gym battle in the game, with 0 losses, getting us our 7th badge. Much like the Aqua Gauntlet before it, we have to fight 3 Magma guys now in a row without healing. The first one leads with a Rotom, and we lead Vidugazi, taking a Shadow Ball, then setting up Stealth Rocks. We eat another Shadow Ball, which activates our Citrus Berry, healing us up, then we go for a Pebble Shower. It raises the Rotom speed, and we go for Protect next turn, getting hit by another Shadow Ball, then going for another Pebble Shower, taking the Rotom down. We harvest our Berry back at the end of turn, healing us back up a little bit, as they go into their second Pokemon, Centiskorch, which gets chunked by the Stealth Rocks. It gets a defense boost on entry, and we go for Protect as it goes for a Leech Life. I swap out into Q-Tip, who gets hit by a Fire Fangs going down to its Focus Sash, slowing the Centiskorch down with its ability, twice because it has Hyper Aggressive, then going into my Brontonana, and hitting a massive Dragon Energy, getting the Centiskorch out. This Pokemon is Fanfernal. Dragon Energy also kills it after Stealth Rocks damage, leaving us with just 2 grunts to go. Second of which leads with a hit Powdon, who sets up a Sandstorm, then hits Vidugazi with Tectonic Fangs, activating our Citrus Berry and being hit by a Giga Drain. A second Tectonic Fangs flinches our Snail, and we harvest our Berry back, healing up at the end of turn. We get hit by Tectonic Fangs once again, going for another Giga Drain, bringing the Powdon to red. We nearly get taken out by Tectonic Fangs, setting up Stealth Rocks for the second match, and harvesting our Berry back. We go for Protect, getting another Harvest trigger, and healing back up once again, allowing us to take another Tectonic Fangs, and the Life Orb takes the Hippowdon down. Next comes Sandaconda, who Mega evolves, as we go for a Protect, dodging its Focus Blast. As it misses a second one, I go for a Giga Drain, protecting again next turn, harvesting back my Berry before going out into Brandy, allowing the Focus Blast to go right through the Ghost type, and landing an Astonish. I then swap out into Rowlet Jr. as it goes for a Big Bang, which causes Grassy Terrain, and heals me up with my Berry. He hits another Big Bang. Personally, I think looks more like a Special Beam Cannon, which we barely survive. Healing up once again, and going for Machagacha, taking down the Mega Sandaconda. His last Pokemon is an Alolan Dugtrio, which almost takes RJ down and gets hit with an Earth Power. Going down to 1, we harvest our Berry back up once again, going for Protect next turn, hit with another Iron Head, finishing it off with Machagacha. One more to go is with the Garbodor, which unsurprisingly megas, then begins to bulk up, which is actually terrifying. Go for an Earthquake with Indica, dealing massive damage, keeping his defense in check with my Whiplash ability. He lands a Meteor Mash, almost taking out my Venusaur, but a second Earthquake brings it down. The Grunt's next Pokemon is Speedrill, so we swap back out into Vidugazi, surviving a Fell Stinger, protecting next turn, harvesting our Berry back, healing back the damage, before taking another one. Going for Pebble Shower, almost taking the Beedrill down. A Fell Stinger finally takes down Vidugazi, Beedrill's attack goes through the roof, and I send in Brandy so that I don't have to deal with that and finish it with an Astonish. The final Pokemon is Glamora, and I choose to go for a Poltergeist, healing about half. Glamora goes for a Meteor Beam, keeping me down to my Focus Sash, and then finishes me with a Priority Gem Vessel. So I go into Brontonana, who survives the Sludge Wave, activating Grassy Terrain, and landing an Earth Power, taking out the Glamora. After clearing out the Riffraff, Steven Stone asks us for a little bit of help with the double battle, so we lend a hand and help him take on Courtney and Maxie. Steve's Tread sets up spikes on entry, and our opponents lead real hard with a Primal Groudon and a Raging Bolt. I go for Protect on Vidugazi, and the Iron Treads Mountain chunks into Raging Bolt, meaning that we don't have to worry about that at least. Groudon V creates into my Protect, then they bring out Renucleus Redux, so I swap out into Q-Tip. The Renucleus goes for a Mystical Fire, taking Treads down to 1, but it retaliates with a Mountain Chunk, taking it out. Groudon goes for a V-Create, bringing my Whimsicott down to its Focus Sash, and slowing it down. Whitney brings out a Charizard and Mega Evolves it to Y. Then Q-Tip hits a Strength Sap on Groudon, healing back to 100%. Treads hits Groudon with a Mountain Chunk, then gets finished off by an Air Slash from the Charizard, further cutting its speed, and that of its partner Charizard. Steve then brings out his Metagross, which gets an attack buff, and proceeds to Mega Evolve. Going for a Psychokinetic Slam, and one-shotting the Charizard, hit the Groudon with another Strength Sap, it tries to V-Create the Metagross, getting a critical hit, and going through all of the lowered stages. Steve then brings out his last Pokemon, Iron Voca, who goes for a Flamethrower into the Groudon, getting a crit and taking it down. Maxie swaps into his Reshiram, who gets hit by a Relic Song from the Iron Voca, also a crit. They then bring out their Redux Skarmory. For some reason the Iron Voca goes for a Flamethrower. It does decent damage, but Q-Tip is hit by a Flame Tongue. So I go into Chiquita, and the Iron Voca hits a Relic Song, finish the battle. Steve really is the hard carry on this fight. After thwarting Maxie's plans, we go outside and talk to this rocket guy who launches us into the middle of the ocean. But that middle of the ocean is actually a little bit closer to our destination. We come up in Sootopolis, where we talk to an Aqua Grunt, who takes us to the Seafloor Cavern, where we will find Archie. After making a bit of progress through the Seafloor Cavern, we run into Aqua Admin Shelly once again, who leaves with her Suicune, and we leave with Q-Tip, setting up a light screen, then being hit by a Freezy Frost. I take flight out, going into Pineapple, who also gets hit by a Freezy Frost, but he handles it much better. Going for a Quiverdan, but the Suicune hits a Freeze Dry, hitting Frostbite. Thankfully, my Frostbite is cured by hydration, and I rip Raspled, taking the Suicune down. Shell Bell heals us up for a chunk, and Rain Dish heals a little bit more. We Hydro Pump the Sneasler, getting another chunk back, then Shelly brings in her Absol. No surprise, it Mega Evolves, but I miss my Hydro Pump, and take a Psyblade to the face. Pineapple keeps chugging along though, and hits a second Hydro Pump, healing back most of the Psyblade damage with the Shell Bell. Shelly then swaps into her Meowscarada, so I go for Ice Beam, healing back to full. She then brings out her Redux Infernape, evolves, and then gets hit by a Grass Pledge, going down before it gets a chance to do any damage. Her last Pokemon is a Goodra, immediately gets hit by an Ice Beam, but tanks it very well, countering with the Dragon Pulse. I start going for a bunch of Quiver Dances, then try another Ice Beam, but it's still not enough to take it down. Goodra has an Ice Beam of its own, and it takes Pineapple out. So I go into Siegfried, kick it with a triple axle, allowing us to proceed past Shelly into the final room of the cave, where we find Groudon's opposite, Kyogre, but just then Archie appears, brandishing the blue orb, using it to battle us. He leads with his Raikou, we lead with Thea, then make a Decidueye. The Raikou sets up Rain and Electric Terrain, and I go for a Clay Darts, a Ground-type arrow move, one-shotting the Raikou. He then brings out his Kyogre, using his orb to revert it to its primal form, so I swap out into Q-Tip, who gets hit by a Sheer Cold, just barely surviving, slowing the Kyogre down. I set up a Light Screen, going down to a second Sheer Cold, and then bring out Kurt, who swaps the terrain to Grassy, then goes for a Chloroblast. Chloroblast blows up the Kyogre, Archie goes into his Garchomp, Mega Evolving it, and sadly I have to put the beautiful beast down, one-shotting it with another Chloroblast. Torpedo comes out, also Mega Evolving, getting a Violent Rush, and hitting an Ice Fang on Kurt. The Ice Fang takes him out, but we deal a little bit of damage with our Aftermath ability, bringing Thea back in, and hitting Razor Leaf, which finishes the Sharpedo, so Archie brings out his Iron Moth. I shoot out another Clay Darts, but the Iron Moth has a Focus Sash, and begins to Quiver Dance. It hits Thea with a Boiling Flame, a Fire-type attack boosted by the rain, so I swap in a Siegfried, finish it off with a Fake Out, forcing Archie into his final Pokemon, Wo-Chien, and the Grass-type Snail gets shredded by a Triple Axle, hanging on the rad, hitting Siegfried with a Ruination. I miss my second Triple Axle, then get hit by a Giga Drain, nearly going down myself, and a third Triple Axle finally takes the Wo-Chien out. Following this, the cave starts to collapse, and Maxie comes in with his Team Magmagoons, taking us outside, where they reflect on the consequences of their actions. Stephen Stone then flies in, lamenting about the state of the world, prompting us to fly to Sootopolis, where we witness Groudon and Kyogre duking it out. But as the two legendaries exchange blows, Third Force appears, and Rayquaza the Mediator descends from the heavens. With a mighty roar, he fixes everything, causing Kyogre and Groudon to stop fighting, and the weather to go back to normal. Then just like he appeared, he disappears back to the sky. And with that out of the way, one final hurdle, the 12v6 double battle gym leaders, Juan and Wallace. They lead with a Politoed and a Redux Renucleus, and I lead with Boop and Gloria, protect with my Arboliva, going for a bullet seed with Boop into the Renucleus, taking advantage of Boop's priority to get around theirs. My Breloom then gets hit with an Ice Beam from the Politoed, but it doesn't do much, and they bring out their Kyosy. So I swap in a Q-Tip. Arboliva gets hit by an Ice Beam, which sets up the grassy terrain. Q-Tip takes a Drill Peck from the Kyosy, being bled, but activating Cotton Down, slowing both of their Pokemon. I hit a Strength Sap with Gloria, weaken the Kyosy, heal her up a little bit, setting up a Reflect with Q-Tip, and going for Rototiller, shooting up both of my Pokemon special attack. Politoed hits an Icy Wind, and a bunch of slow goes off because it activates Cotton Down. Q-Tip then takes a Drill Peck from the Kyosy again. Now the whole battlefield is just kind of moving at 1 mile an hour. I Strength Sap with Q-Tip this time, healing her up to full, then go for a Giga Drain with Gloria, doing a bunch of damage to the Kyosy. Politoed rips an Ice Beam, but it doesn't even do half. Then Kyosy decides to double into Gloria, taking her down to the red, but her Citrus Berry pops off. I set up a Light Screen, then go for another Giga Drain, finishing the Kyosy. The Politoed goes for another Ice Beam. Urshifu comes on out, Mega Evolving, and I go for Protect with Gloria to try to avoid an Ice Beam, but the Urshifu kicks through it, taking my Arboliva down and raising its critical hit. Strength Sap it with Q-Tip, lower its damage a bit. Politoed goes for another Icy Wind. I swap in a Kurt, going for a Chloroblast into the Urshifu, one-shotting it with massive damage. I then Strength Sap into the Politoed, even though it's a special attacker, just to heal up a little bit. Politoed goes for another Icy Wind, then gets hit by a Chloroblast from Kurt. Rain finally lets up, and they go into Kingdra, Mega Evolving, hitting an Ice Beam on Q-Tip, almost taking her down, goes for a Chloroblast, and brings the dragon down to the red as well. We take flight out, going in a Boop, so that a priority Bullet Seed can finish the Kingdra. Then their last Pokemon Manaphy comes out, setting the rain up once again. Swap in a Q-Tip, then go for a Bullet Seed, and just 2 projectiles finishes the Manaphy. That's only half the battle, because Wallace and Juan are about to whip out their real team. They lead with Kyogre and a Redux Garchomp, one Primal Reverting, and the other Mega Evolving. Bullet Seed the Kyogre. Thanks to a lucky crit, we take it down with little problem. I use a Razor Leaf from Thea into the Garchomp, getting a crit and one-shotting it as well. They then bring out their Kilowattrel and Golisopod. The Y-Swap in a Q-Tip gets finished off by a First Impressions, but sets a Cotton Trap, slowing their team down. I go for a Bullet Seed into the Kilowattrel. Despite being not very effective, manage to take it down. They then bring out their Volcanion, and I bring out Kurt, setting up the rain and the grassy terrain, then rip a Bullet Seed into the Golisopod, ending the insect as we go for a Chloroblast into the Volcanion. Taking it out as well. Down to their last Pokemon, they go into a Swampert, Mega Evolving it in a futile effort to survive our grass attack. And 1 Bullet Seed later, the duo are finished, and we obtain our 8th badge, leaving only Victory Road and the Elite Four standing in our way. We make our way over to Victory Road. We're inside the cave where Wally is waiting for us once again. He leads with his Hisuian Arcanine, gets destroyed by Boop's Arm Thrust. Going into his Silvally, I swap in a Q-Tip, tanking a Moonblast, evading Cotton Down, then setting up a Light Screen. The Silvally changes to a Steel type, going for a Flash Cannon, taking my Fairy down, but getting slowed again. So I go into Thea, hit it with triple arrows, getting a crit. Lower gets lobbed off another Flash Cannon, going down to its own Life Orb while he then swaps into his Latios, Mega Evolving it, and getting hit by a Spirit Shackle. It hits with a Luster Purge, getting a speed boost as my Tailwind peters out. So I go into Brandy, hitting an Astonish, then finish it off with a Shadow Sneak. Wally brings out his Shaman, setting up a Tailwind, getting smacked by his Sash, also getting a speed boost. The Shaman misses its attack, and then its Sash strangles it. So Wally brings out his Iron Valiant, and I break its Gallantry with Shadow Sneak, but get hit by a Pixie Slash. Then outspeeds, going for a Psycho Boost, so I bring out my Jumpluff and end it with an Air Slash. Last Pokemon is Urshifu, who also gets Air Slashed, going down in one shot, throwing his Legendary with just a flower. We bid farewell to Wally, and proceed into the cave, and after making it through the gauntlet that is Victory Road, we run into none other than the killer kindergartner himself, Calvin, who leads with Kecleon, fusion of Kecleon and Dugong. We set up a Leech Seed with Joel, and the plan is to take this thing down with periodic damage. Because its Prismatic Fur ability changes it to whatever is your attack, put it to sleep with a Spore, and allow the Leech Seed to take it down a bit, healing up with Self-Sufficient and Leftovers. I go for a Leech Life to do a tiny bit of damage, and activate my Parasitic Spores. Next turn, I go for Protect, allowing the Leech Seed and the Spores to work in conjunction, hitting a Leech Life as it wakes up, going for a Sheer Cold. Its Aurora Veil wears off, and at the end of turn, it finally goes down to my Parasitic Spores. Calvin then goes into Skullbarus, going for a powerful Rip and Tear, taking Joel down, and getting a Moxie boost. So I go into Juggernaut, going for a Spiky Shield, getting a bleed on it. Skullbarus goes for Rip and Tear, bleeding my Pokemon as well, then take some damage from our Iron Barbs and Rocky Helmet. I go for a Hard Press, suppressing its ability, then get hit by a Pursuit, setting up a Spikes as the Skullbarus goes down to its bleed. Wally then brings out his Wobbuffet, encores me into Spikes, and starts spamming Destiny Bond, trapping me in a cycle. As the Encore ends, it goes for another one, and you can see where this is going. It eventually switches out, which I'm pretty sure was because it was out of Encore PP, going into Tinkaton, and I go for a Spiky Shield. But the Gigaton Hammer hits right through it, taking Juggernaut down, so I bring Ifrit out, and chomp down on the Tinkaton with a Fire Fang. Calvin then swaps into his Shuckle, which is ready to roll, and Mega Evolves, so I go into a Trick Room, getting hit by a Rollout. Then I put the Shuckle to sleep with a Spore. It takes some damage from Bad Dreams, then it gets hit by a Dream Eater, not doing a whole lot, getting ticked down by Bad Dreams again at the end of turn. Next turn it's still asleep, so I go for another Dream Eater, and let my ability finish it off. Calvin then brings out his Smeargle, who takes some spike damage as I go in a Boop, avoiding a Burning Bulwark thanks to Long Reach. And Thrust hits it, leaving just Wobbuffet again. And this time, I've got priority damaging moves, so I won't be trapped. Soul Linker ability takes us down with it, but that's his last Pokemon, so it doesn't matter. And with Calvin out of the way, we can proceed to the Elite Four. With our final team ready to roll, we go forth believing in our plans. Rolling up to challenge the first of our final 5 fights, the Dark Master Sydney. Sydney kicks things off with a Redux Alakazam, which uses a scratch on entry, hitting a bunch of times thanks to its ability, and absolutely shredding itself on our Iron Barbs and Rocky Helmet, taking itself down before the battle even started. Sydney then goes into his Chi-Yu, so I swap in a Q-Tip, starts plotting nasty things, while I set up a light screen. Fire Blast incinerates Q-Tip, and I bring out Boop, beating the fish up with an Arm Thrust. Sydney then swaps into Yveltal, setting up an Air Blower, and honestly, this is the Pokemon on his team that I was most afraid of. I swap back into Juggernaut, as it launches an Oblivion Wing, then hits a Heat Wave, doing much more damage, and getting a burn on me. I go for a Body Press, doing less than I thought it would, and another Heat Wave takes my Hero Thorn out, so I go into Kurt, fire off a Thunderbolt, taking the Yveltal down. Sydney goes into King Gambit, and since I'm choice locked, I just hit another Thunderbolt. Gambit goes for a Last Respect, surprising choice that finishes Kurt, so I go into Boop, bring it down with an Arm Thrust, and he then brings out his Mawile, headed Menace, but it never gets a chance to bite me, because a Bullet Seed crit takes it down. Then goes into Darkrai, who also gets finished by a Bullet Seed, moving the first of the Elite Four out of our way, allowing us to press on to the second, Phoebe, the Ghost Master. She starts off with a Giratina, which reverts to its origin form, setting up the Fog, as I go for a Spiky Shield, blocking its Ominous Wind. Next turn, an Ominous Wind gets through, doing a bunch of damage to Juggernaut, and I go for a Hard Press, suppressing its ability. I then swap out into Q-Tip, who survives an Ominous Wind, then heals up with a Strength Sap, going almost back to full as the Giratina goes for a Shadow Ball. I then set up a Light Screen, allowing us to survive another Shadow Ball, Strength Sapping again, and surviving an Ominous Wind, we go for a Draining Kiss. Giratina is incredibly tanky, however, and refuses to go down to just one Fairy move, eventually taking Q-Tip out with a Shadow Ball. So I go into Thea, shooting off a Spirit Shackle, taking the dragon down, as Phoebe goes into her Redux Houndoom, which Mega Evolves before being shot with a Spirit Shackle, which is a crit, and takes it out before it does anything. Gyaradeath comes in next, Mega Evolving to the X variant. Spirit Shackle sunders its soul, as Phoebe brings out her Pheromosa, which also gets tripped by a Spirit Shackle. Marshadow comes in next, getting a Spectral Thief on entry, almost taking Thea out, because Sash allows it to survive, retaliating with a Wicked Blow, ending Thea's reign of terror, while going to Juggernaut, going for a Spiky Shield, then letting the Iron Barbs finish it off. Phoebe's final Pokemon is a Necrozma, which goes for a Dark Pulse, finishing Juggernaut. So I go into Kurt, and hit it with a Chloroblast. It survives on half, going for a Dark Pulse, and I bring out Boop, hitting a Bullet Seed, finishing Phoebe's final Pokemon, so that we can move on. And this next one has me stone cold scared, because it's the Ice Master Glacia, so we're at a distinct disadvantage. She leads with a Lapras, and I with Q-Tip, and as the hail starts coming down, the Lapras Mega Evolves into the Y variant. I go for a Draining Kiss, but it doesn't even scratch it, clapping back with a Freeze Dry, almost taking Q-Tip down. I set up a Light Screen, Then a freeze dry takes Q-tip out, so I go into Boop, start thrusting arms. The Lapras just barely manages to hang on, retaliating with a freeze dry, not managing to take Boop out. Next turn, an arm thrust takes it down, and Chien Pao comes out, getting shredded by an arm thrust, posing no challenge whatsoever. Next out is Articuno, who sets up an Aurora Veil before a barrage of arm thrust crits do a bunch of damage to it. A Freezy Frost ends Boop, and we go into Kurt, Thunderbolting the bird, finishing it off so Blazia can go into her Kyurem. I just go for another Thunderbolt, getting a lucky paralysis as the Kyurem goes for a Blizzard, taking Kurt out. I then go into Thea, going for a triple arrows, lowering its defense, and getting a flinch. A second triple arrows takes it down, and their light screen wears off as she brings out her Dugong, setting up another Aurora Veil before Mega Evolving, and being hit by a triple arrows, nearly being taken out by a crit. Its ability triggers an Icy Wind, but Thea hangs on, although she's slowed, and it outspeeds, taking her out with a Blizzard. So I swap into Ifrit, hitting a Fertile Fangs, boosted by the grassy terrain. Phoebe's last Pokemon is a Beedrill, which Mega Evolves, so I swap out into Juggernaut, avoiding its poison, before being hit by an Ice Shard. I go for a Hard Press, and it hangs on by a thread, going for another Ice Shard, before being taken out by a Body Press. And quite frankly, I feel like I was more afraid than I had to be. But I can't let my guard down yet, because I've got to fight the Dragon Master Drake, who leads with a Dialga. As I go Q-tip, it reverts to its origin form, while I try to light screen, getting obliterated by a Steel Beam. So I go into Thea, try to launch off some triple arrows, but they don't do much, and she takes a Steel Beam to the face, going for another triple arrow before being taken out. So I go into Boo, proceeding to Arm Thrust, and even after all my crits, this thing still hangs on, launching off another Steel Beam, before finally being taken out by a second round of Arm Thrusts. Drake then goes into Rayquaza, which he freaking Mega Evolves, as if it wasn't scary enough already. The thing gets a Wind Rider attack buff, so I go into Juggernaut, and it goes for a Draconic Fangs, taking damage from my pointy bits. Next turn, the Rayquaza goes for a V-Create, taking Juggernaut out before I have a chance to wear it down. But thankfully it's pretty crippled, and Boop is able to finish it off. Drake then brings out his Kyurem Black, and Boop arms thrusts that as well, showcasing just how insane Mega Breloom is. Baryon comes out next, the final form of Redux Dugong. Despite looking impressive, taken out by a bunch of arm thrusts. Down to just 2, Drake sends out his Koraidon, and I just arm thrust into it, getting lucky with a crit. The final dragon in our way is a Haxorus, which unfortunately for it becomes a Steel type when it Mega Evolves. I swap out into Kurt, chipping it with Aftermath, and bring Boo back to end things with arm thrusts. And with that, Drake is done, and we can move on to the champion. We climb the stairs to our final fight, once again standing face to face with Steven Stone, who leads with a Kartana, violently rushing onto the battlefield. As I swap out into Juggernaut, who tanks a cut, chipping the Kartana before being hit by a Sacred Sword, which brings Kartana down to the yellow as well, so I go for a Body Press, finishing it off. Zambazenta comes out next, and it's restored to its former glory, before being bled by a Spiky Shield. It goes for a Body Press, taking a bit of Rocky Helmet damage. I counter with a Hard Press, suppressing its ability. I then swap in a Q-tip, who tanks a Body Press, then sets up a Reflect, and gets hit by a Double Iron Bash. Surprisingly, I survive, and go for a Draining Kiss, as it launches another Double Iron Bash, which doesn't do nearly as much damage as I thought. I Draining Kiss again, and it keeps Double Iron Bashing, going down to a final Draining Kiss. His brother Zacian comes out next, doing his best Sif impression, while I bring Juggernaut back around, hitting a Pixie Slash, chipping the Zacian a little bit. I go for a Spiky Shield, making it bleed. Keeps going for Pixie Slashes. I go for a Body Press next turn. It survives on 1 before being bled out. So Steve goes into his Mewtwo, which Mega Evolves to Y. I swap in a Q-tip, who comes in on a Focus Blast, sacrificing itself to slow the Mewtwo down. I go into Kurt next to get rid of the Psychic Terrain, firing off a Chloroblast, which is enough to one-shot the Mewtwo. He then brings out his Heatran, so I go back to Juggernaut, who gets taken out by a Burn-Up, so that I can get a clean switch back into Kurt. Going for a Sonic Boom, popping its Air Balloon, then getting hit by a Flash Cannon. Kurt survives, going for another Sonic Boom, taking the Heatran down, forcing Steve into his last Pokemon, his ace Metagross. Metagross Mega Evolves, going for a Meteor Mash, finishing Kurt off, taking a bit of damage from Aftermath, as I go into Thea, who shoots off a Spirit Shackle, getting a crit, taking out Steve's final Pokemon, making us once again Hoenn champion. And despite all the shortcomings that Grass has, I honestly really enjoyed this run. Hey everyone, Token here. Just wanted to thank everyone who stuck around this long. I appreciate you watching the video, and I, as always, wanted to extend a heartfelt thank you to the team. James,
Christoph, Artist Crew, Discord mods, whoever you are. Anybody who helps make the game, I appreciate you. And hey, if you're still here and you haven't subscribed, please do. Until next time, everyone. Deathmage signing off.